Anime presents That Time I Tuned Into a Podcast Just to Listen to Somebody Shill for a Publisher. I am your host, Zeke Changers, along with the editor-in-chief of Honey's Anime, the man whose quest for the One Piece involves searching for a chicken nugget that fell on the floor of a scar, Alfonso Ortiz. How you doing, Fonzie?
I'm more of a bone-in person, tell you the truth. I don't know. That breading on boneless, boneless is great because it's effortless eating in a sense, but that breading is just extra empty calories, so bone in.
Okay. All right, now, for those of you who are just tuning in for the first time, that time I tuned into a podcast just to listen to someone shill for a publisher, is all about manga and light novels. And Fonzie and I will tell you about something that we've read and give you our honest opinion. And then we'll both share a title we call Honey Chan's pick after our lovely little mascot, Honey Chan. So you
Hmm.
ready there, Fonzie?
Absolutely. Let's do it.
All right, the first one we're going to take a look at is Head Hunted to Another World.
All
Now,
right.
yes, the Heavenly Kings have names like Ulamandra, Queen of Assault and Hellfire, Sylphid, Conjurer of the Ultimate Storm, Gnome, Manipulator of Nature's Bulwark, the Earth, and then Uchimaro Denosuke, Regional Manager of Overseas Operations.
Mm.
Yeah. An ordinary salaryman is recruited by the Demon King to become one of the four Heavenly Kings in another world. What could possibly go wrong?
What
Yes,
could go wrong?
yes, what could go wrong? I mean, his life pretty much sucked when he was demoted, sent to another country, and then hit by a tuk-tuk. So, yeah,
That's hilarious. And you know what? Honestly, tuk-tuks are no joke. I was in Thailand for like a week or so and rode a few tuk-tuks. And actually, one time we went out partying at night and got kind of drunk, and that we were being responsible enough, and we took a tuk-tuk back. But I think the driver might have been drunk too, because there was a lot of weaving in and out of traffic, and it was intense.
yeah.
So I can
So,
relate.
yeah, okay. Uchimara is your normal everyday salaryman. He wanted to climb the corporate ladder. But after his accident, he's summoned by the demon overlord, who offers him a new job, one of the heavenly kings in his army, with
Okay.
full benefits.
Oh.
Uchimara may not have muscles or magic, but he does have an office worker's skill. And he even tries to convince the demon lord that he doesn't exactly fit into this scheme of his. And the
All
demon
right.
lord will not hear it. He's like, I have an eye for talent and actually produces Uchimara's resume. He's like, he goes through the paper. He's like, he builds him up and telling him that his bosses were all wrong. They just didn't see his value.
Wow, talk about confidence.
Yeah,
And then the other guy's honestly just trying to tell him like, hey man, like I'm not built for this, or I'm not like, made for this.
yeah.
So,
He's
and the
like,
guy's
I'm a
like,
human, and you're all superpowered.
yeah, and it's like, you're wrong. You're gonna do good. It's like, come on. All right, all right, all
Yeah.
right.
He's then paired with the smoking hot Omandra, Queen of Assault and Hellfire, who dresses exactly as you would imagine for a manga demon lord lieutenant. And she
Mm,
isn't exactly happy about this partnership, but she takes him. Her job is to take him to the different demon races and recruit them into the demon lord's army, since apparently he's got a personnel shortage.
mm,
So,
okay.
our hero uses his skill honed with talking to locals in various cultures to understand what they want for joining up. He is in over his head, but that makes it very, very funny. So, yeah, this
Wow.
poor guy is just like, okay, I'm gonna have to figure this out because I got no choice. But
Yeah, like it already seems like he's being put on the pedestals like right out the gate.
yes, he didn't even have to work his way up from like,
Uh-huh.
secretary. He goes from regional manager to lieutenant of the demon lord. So,
That's funny.
yeah, it really is. It's cute. And if you've ever experienced anything in the corporate world, you'll see definite callbacks to things that you're like, yeah, I've experienced this dealing with HR before. Why, it didn't seem funny then, but it seems funny now because, we're talking to a minotaur about health benefits. So I know that's that's what this is. And it's by Seven Seas. They are the ones who published it. And
Nice.
yeah, it's a fun read. I think there are like 3 volumes out at this point.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it wasn't it didn't leave me in stitches like Satan's Secretary did,
Mhm.
but which is brilliant. But I think they only made 1 volume, and I would have begged for more to be translated because it was really funny. But this this seems to hit a lot of the boxes of, you know, you understand how our world works. It's funny if you never been in the corporate world, but if you've ever worked in a corporation, it hits home in some very fun
Mhm.
ways.
Mhm. Okay, I can actually understand that. I myself haven't really worked in a corporate business except for maybe one, but I was also going to school at the time, so I just kind of ended up having to quit. So it
Yeah,
didn't like so it wasn't like a full experience, but I had a taste of it, and I understand what's going on. And then working right now as an editor in chief in a company that is not that big, but
yeah,
you know is in its way of being as such a corporate business if it ever like takes off like from here on out and all that stuff, which I mean I kind of hope it would, but at the same time we wouldn't operate as a regular corporate business. We don't do it now. We're too chill. We're otaku. We're
yeah,
fans, and so like even then I still probably wouldn't know fully, but I get the gist.
yeah.
Oh yeah.
Uh, yeah, so I can see that this is probably directed at those grown-ups who like to read the mangas as well as the kids. I mean, the kids are going to appreciate the kasabas of Alondra,
Mhm.
Alondra, but I think so will the adult males. So, it definitely ticks all the boxes of a that weird you'd call it shonen in a way, but
Mhm.
it's also not because
Hmm.
when yeah, I'm gonna if I'm a kid, I'm gonna pick it up because the cover is funny and it's got a cute girl on it.
Mhm.
But I'm not gonna be like, wow, oh, the title is about a headhunter, head hunted from another world,
Mhm.
as in, you know, jobs and corporate stuff. So that kind of that title is what really got me was like, oh, so this is going to be like
Yeah.
say secretary, and
Mhm.
it did have a similar feel. So
Yeah, it doesn't. I mean, even looking at the cover, it doesn't seem very shonen at all. It could just be like in its own
I'm not sure.
category.
Yeah, I'm not sure where to put ones like this where they, you know,
Mhm. Yeah, no, I totally understand because you could say that it's seinen, but sometimes seinen requires it to be like fully like adult related in a sense, not like X rated, but just
right?
more adult oriented in that sense. So,
Yes,
but this one's got a lot of comedy in it and everything. So, I
yeah,
mean, yeah, it's like it's an in betweener. To tell you the truth.
yeah. I mean, what was it? I worked for a low-level bureaucrat for 10,000 years or something like that, and ended up
Mm,
like
I
doing
remember
more like
that.
yeah. I mean, that is it's cute because it's from the same world as I killed slimes for 300 years and maxed out my level. It
Mm.
is cute, but it's still, I mean, she goes through all this, you know, she looks for all this corporate BS. Like she has to find employees and she has to push papers. And,
Mm.
even though there's these fun, cute moments, it's still, there's a mountain of paper that just needs to be pushed because that's just what paper needs. So, yeah,
Apparently.
yeah. So it's a very odd. We need to create a new genre for work-oriented work-oriented isekai fiction.
Yeah, so we can stay away from it. I can understand that. Like, it probably should be in its own genre because, not many people would want to watch something as such unless, they want to laugh about the situations that they can relate to. But
Yes.
but then it depends on how bad the situation is for them. If they're like, "Oh no, I want to focus on something else. Screw whatever I've been doing and everything." It's like change the pace. So,
Oh, well, hey, every time I see Tiga in the Faith series
mm.
smack a kid over the head with a kendo stick, I get really, really jealous. Like, only if I could.
What,
So,
be the kid?
yeah, I keep threatening to take my Bokan to school and like smack someone upside the head. So,
Maybe you can just do intimidation, just bring it and carry it over your shoulder like a badass, and just kind of just be
yeah,
there, walking around back and
yeah,
forth.
look like one of those Yankee
Yankees, little
yeah,
gangsters.
one of those Yankee gangsters wear a long white coat and be like, "What do you want to make of it? Come on, try me."
Hmm. Just take it the what is it great Onizuka, GTO, great
Yeah,
teacher Onizuka.
yes,
You could take that route too. Why
yeah.
not? Why not? But
So,
then you would need to
yeah,
know a lot of ruffians, so I'm not too sure
yeah.
how that would work.
I've got enough in my class that yeah, there are days where there are days.
There
Let's just
it
put
is.
it that way. It's high school. It's
Nice.
like Lord of the Flies on a regular basis. So,
Ah, okay. I totally understand that.
all right. So, what did you have a chance to read over the last couple weeks?
Okay. I read a few. One of them stuck out the most. It was it's a comedy manga, and interesting enough, it's also from Seven Seas Entertainment.
Woohoo!
So definitely like Seven Seas, they always have some good selections, a varied selection too. Like always, like hardcore, dramas, or you got fantasies, isekais, ecchis and BL stuff. They have everything for everyone, which is why I always like them. And then I came across this one title called "Muscles Are Better Than Magic,"
Okay.
and yeah, it's a comedy manga about a man who's so ripped that magic can't defeat him. so it's really funny. It's nice. I like it a lot. It's something that if it was adapted into an anime, I totally it would totally be on my watch list like hardcore. So like you have two characters. The guy who is Yuri, although when you see him, he's like maybe in his late teens, early 20s or something like that. He's basically kind of like an orphan. He grew up in the slums of a city in this fantasy world, and basically kind of had this dream all of a sudden planted in his mind when someone gave him a book, and it was like book about like this boy who was like, I want to learn magic and become the greatest magician of them all and be stronger than all magicians and everything. And so it's like, oh, okay, all right. He's reading the book, and the next thing you know, the kid is defeated by another magician. And because he's defeated, he just gives up on becoming the strongest magician and decides to become a chef. so
All right. Okay.
this is the book, all right. So this is what influenced the character Yuri, the main character in this, all right. So this kid becomes a chef, and he ends up becoming the royal chef in the kingdom and lives like happily ever after or something like that. And so Yuri like looking at this book, and he's like, what a load of crap. It's like, what is this? This kid is like has his mindset on becoming the strongest magician, and because he was defeated once, he just quits and does something else. And he's like, no, that's stupid. It's ridiculous. I'm not going to do that. That's why I'm just going to go ahead and say, screw this. I am going to be training and focusing on building strength in my muscles that so much dominate all other things in the world.
Just like Batman.
Hey,
Batman doesn't need magic.
probably to tell you the truth, this is almost kind of like in a sense Saitama from One Piece.
Okay.
Although from what I've been and I've only read the first volume, but from what I've been reading, this character Yuri already seems like he's like 10 times better than Saitama, to tell you the truth.
Okay.
Because his training, for Saitama, he did a few things every day with like push, like 100 push-ups, 100 sit-ups, like 100 miles or whatever, and all this stuff. So this guy was training also every day too, but he was mainly training like against monsters, and because he was in the forest, he had a lot on it, a lot to think about. So he was always with his thoughts and strengthen his mind, his motion, like everything. And so when you see him, he looks like this, like kind of CrossFit, slim cut guy. And then he does this thing where he does a limiter release because apparently he puts limiters on his body because he's so strong. So when he releases the limiter release, the guy is huge, bulky, like bigger than Arnold Schwarzenegger in his prime.
When I release the limiters on my body, it just means I have to release my belt a little more.
You know,
You
that is
know,
a limiter.
give
That
myself give myself some more, waist room.
I feel I'm right there with you. Don't worry. Don't worry. There are times, especially since the holidays are coming up, I'm
Yeah.
gonna have to wear my stretchy pants.
Hmm.
But yeah, so he trains and he ends up becoming this huge cut guy, and it gets to the point that he's been training for so long, for decades, because he's like in his 20s and everything. And I think when he decided doing this, he was 6 or 7 from
Okay.
what it said. So yeah, he's cut, he's strong, he's so obsessed with training and his muscles that he even says it's like, oh, I've been training every day. I'm so strong I could defeat these monsters because I'm swole. And then like um he ends up just kind of living his life, and then all of a sudden comes across an elf, and this elf's name is Philia. And
And she's hot. Let me.
we'll say not hot because in fact she introduces herself in the series as Philia, the most beautiful elf that you can lay your like eyes upon and all this stuff.
Okay.
And so she's kind of full she's kind of full of herself, and so you're getting this from her. But like he stumbles upon this girl, and she's kind of like, she's tired, she's kind of just worn out from traveling, I guess, or whatever. She's hungry, and the guy's like, oh, so seeing you and how you are and how you presented yourself and everything, you're lost, aren't you? And she's like, no, I'm just a wandering traveler, blah blah blah. I left my village because of this, and I'm wandering. He's like, yeah, you're lost. And so he ends up helping her, and they basically um stay with each other for maybe like a few days. He feeds her, shows her the way and everything. And she's like, okay, thank you. Now I'm gonna go. And he's like, well, where are you gonna go? And she's like, I want to leave the forest. I left my village because I want to go explore the rest of the world. And this kid's been in the forest all these years, and he's actually never thought about leaving until Philia mentions it. And so he's like, can I come with you? And thus begins the adventures of Yuri and Philia. And not to mention, or not to forget to mention this, is that Philia is also pretty strong as an elf.
Okay.
She's a magic user,
All right.
and she can actually use wind, water, fire, earth, and lightning. So she has like an OP status within magic. But as
All
far
right.
as her strength, she doesn't. So it's a good pairing because now she has Yuri. Yuri, who doesn't have magic at all. He can't even use magic, but he's so strong that he like builds energy within his muscles, can create fire and lightning and stuff like that from his body. But that's the ultimate gist. So basically, it's just about them traveling and being with each other. Character development going on where you get to learn more about Yuri. You do get to learn more about Philia as well. Um, And so as they're traveling, they have to survive. So the thought of joining a adventure guild comes into play, and that's where more comedy uh, ensues. It just becomes so apparent that they're a laughing stock within the community, but at the same time, situations that happen where they end up proving their might and just changing the thoughts and the facts of what people are perceiving them to be
Okay.
it's hilarious. It's like super funny. Um, One thing that I can mention is that Philia and Yuri are always kind of butting heads too, and so they're kind of
A will
like
they, won't they, moonlighting
and in
situation.
that sense, yeah, like there is a little bit of that, but there's also a lot of naiveness. So it's always this kind of run around, a little standstill. The topic comes up, but then it ends up being a little childish outcome at the end. So there's a lot of run around with that, but at the same time, they also kind of like butt heads a lot too, just generally speaking, in a sense, where one's saying like, "Oh, you're too strong, you're like a gorilla," and the other takes offense of it, and the other one's saying, "Oh, you're so weak, you're like a stick that can easily break," and stuff like that. But it's nice so far. I'm enjoying it. The writing's really good. It's
Good.
funny. The art's great too. In fact, this is probably one of the easiest manga that I've ever come across where you read it and it's just like an easy flow of reading the text, the dialogue with the imagery and how and your understanding of everything. It's perfect. It's great.
Which is good because sometimes manga gets a little too wordy. Um,
A little
and
too wordy, yeah. Too
and you're like,
wordy. The pace is a little slow when they have to explain stuff or
yeah,
give some sort of
if you have
incentives.
to, if you have that many words, make a light novel, and then when you make the
Mhm.
translation into a manga, your pictures are supposed to tell us the story.
Mhm.
So
They, yeah, and they are like, especially in a manga. Picture's worth 1,000 words. It should do definitely half the work, so that you have just the main dialogue to focus on, and to help with the imaginary thing that you're looking at. So,
yeah,
it's
well,
really cool.
okay. Well, I think wordy is a way to segue into the honey's pick.
Oh.
I recently looked at Wolf and Parchment, which is a spin-off or a generational spin-off, let's put it that way, to Spice and Wolf, which was the story of the wise Wolf Hollow and Lawrence as they traveled the medieval-ish countryside and taught us all about economics. Um,
Oh.
now,
Okay, so
yeah,
yeah.
that yeah, the entire story is about economics in Spice and Wolf.
Interesting.
And yes, and this picks up years after the two of them have settled down. Our wolf goddess and our trader Lawrence have now opened a bathhouse, and they've lived there for quite some time, and they've taken in this young man by the name of Tote Cole, and now he's kind of grown up and he wants to become a priest. And so he leaves home, he leaves Hollow and Lawrence behind and heads off to the city so he can join the priesthood and change the church from inside out because he realizes there's a lot of
Ooh.
problems with the church.
Yeah, this is definitely political.
Here's the
Yeah.
problem. Lawrence and Hollow's daughter, uh, Muri, who is like her mother, a wolf deity, uh, tags along and follows him to the big city, to basically like the Rome of this world, the Vatican of this world, where he wants to go become a priest. And it makes a lot of commentary on religion, which and organized religion and corruption, but that is kind of taking on larger issues is kind of like a trademark of this franchise.
Mhm.
Um, Murray is a lot like her mother in things like she's one of those, she's small, but she can, eat everything.
Okay.
Um, yeah, kind. She's not wise like her mother has is hundreds of years old, and so she's a very wise wolf goddess. Murray is young. She's less than she's like 14, 15 years old. And so she has a very naive view of the world because she's only really known the world around her parents and the bathhouse.
Mhm.
And so she's a little more childish, she's a lot more rambunctious. As one quote put, she calling her a little hellion wouldn't be too out of line either because she
Hmm.
just, she's curious, she's mirthful, she gets into trouble a lot.
Mhm.
Um, and so she's a very different character than her mother, despite looking a lot like her. Uh, and you know, the story kind of mimics the idea of the Protestant Reformation. Um, you don't really have like a Martin Luther in that story, but you do see a lot of the comparisons between, what Martin Luther thought of the Catholic Church and um, what our hero Tote Cole thinks
Mhm.
as he wants to join the church so he can change it from the inside out. So
Mhm. Mhm.
I enjoyed this. It is a little wordy compared to most, but it's based on a light novel.
Mhm.
And there's a lot of very complex things that they want to explain that is hard to explain in art. But this story, the art is excellent, as one would expect. I think if you look at the light novels, the art is some of the best that you'll see for light novels in Wolf and Parchment and Spice and Wolf. So if you really like art and you like those stories that explain a complex issue in a simpler way,
Mhm.
this is a very good avenue for that. What is it? My Hero, My Enemy, which is an anime, Mayu, I believe is how it's spelled
And
in the title. Does the same thing. It talks about economics and talks about religion and things like that. And you sit there and you get all of this basic information about agrarian society and economics and dual coinage and things like that. But it's also a compelling story. And I think that's what they've done very good in Wolf and Parchment, as well as in Spice and Wolf, is where they've taken the complex issue, they've boiled it down a bit, and they've helped explain it in ways that let you latch on to it and then compare it to actual, real world
mhm.
stories, real world history. And
Mhm.
I really enjoyed it for that one. So I thought I might we should give a shout out to
Wow.
Wolf and Parchment because it does justice to the original stories.
That's intense. That is
It it it,
intense.
it can be, yes.
I mean, it
And
sounds intense. I mean, just already the subject kind
yeah,
of not. I mean, albeit a different wording. Going after the church in a sense is some.
yeah,
Yeah, it's something that's always been in history books. I guess you could say.
yes. And well, you'd almost think of it though. You can also say a corrupt church is a trope in anime and
Very
manga.
true. Very
When has
well.
the when
Gosh.
has the church been the good guy?
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, I totally understand, especially in Western fantasy philosophies and everything. A lot of stuff is like the medieval ways and all that stuff. When the
Y-
church would
You
be
know,
there, that was they were sovereign. They were the order.
Shield Hero, the church, bad guy.
Yes,
Let's they're
there are
the
there are several. Yeah, there are
yeah
several of
they're
them.
always the church is always, I think, what even in Fire Force, like the church has a corrupt
Yeah,
inner working.
there is.
So
Yep, there sure
yep,
is.
there's always that, and um, so I think it's not something new that they're going after. They're just going after it in a more subdued way than, you know,
They are, and not
that's a
actually bring
fun
it
movie.
up. It's interesting because I have been seeing a little more of that lately. That specific topic just pop up in general.
It's probably just the cyclical nature of these of the way the topics that people write about.
Mm-hmm.
It just right now, this feels like the one that everyone wants to talk about, and in another couple years, it'll be something else again, and we'll just you know you hit the major touchstones of philosophy in a cyclical way because different generations are like getting exposed to things they
Uh-huh.
haven't been exposed to before.
Yeah, that's true. And history repeats itself, so why not teach it through history?
Yes, exactly. It has happened before and it will happen again, as they said at
Mm-hmm.
the end of Battlestar Galactica.
Gosh, that was a good show.
Yes, it was. Yes, it was. Anything else you like to add or remind our viewers slash listeners to?
Me personally, no, I don't have necessarily anything else to add as far as reading because a lot of the stuff that I was reading were okay. They're pretty good. But again, muscles are better than magic. What I presented to you all was definitely the one that caught my eye the most out of everything. Other than that, readers out there, we do have uh I believe the third phase of our contest going on where if you guys can help rate and vote the best novel on our HoneyFeed Light Novel platform. That'll help out a lot. It's fun, it's interesting, it'll be part of history. We are trying to contribute everything that we're doing to bringing this winning novel in front of Kodansha,
Yeah,
and it will be published.
and don't forget that Honey's Anime has a in-depth manga section edited by Mary, and a lot of the materials provided by Nobody's 17, who is a novelist himself, as well as
Hmm.
Christian Markle. And maybe we can convince them to come on the show at some point to talk about some of the stuff they've read over the last few years as they've reviewed countless numbers of light novels and manga for us.
Hmm. Yes, we are building up the manga
Yes.
edition on the website, so yeah, keep coming back, guys, because
Yeah.
it works if you work it.
Yep. All right. Um, you know, us reviewing stuff can't be done without, companies like Viz or Yen Press, or in this case, Seven Seas Entertainment, um, Square Enix Kodansha, and, most of all, Honey's Anime, which is the place for the anime enthusiast. We couldn't do it without their cooperation, and we truly enjoy bringing you these stories that we've read. And until next time, for Fonzie and myself, we thank you for listening and keep reading.
Yes, thank you very much, everyone. You have a great day.